Good morning. I know that everyone had a wonderful evening yesterday and all know what your favorite pinchos are now. So yesterday we were a little bit behind with the schedule, so we want to continue with the second round of the panel yesterday. We will have not a lot of time in breakout groups. We want you already to reflect a little bit on what you have found the main takeaways of the last days with respect to how to mobilize engagement of regions and cities and how to do that. So we will then break around. I don't know how many, we have three, I don't know how many people there are. Gabriella, maybe we can already see if three is okay. So, but let's then finalize the last very interesting contributions. We talked about mobilizing support for community sponsorship, but we haven't talked that, of course, there are different ways to expand on different type of programs. One of the community sponsorship programs that are developing quite interesting. Even at this moment, there's a conference in Paris where all the higher education stakeholders are meeting. These are programs that look at higher education scholarships and receiving students linked to integration support, community support for these students. That can be peer support of other students and also has some engagement of very small engagement of cities and regions. We have a manifesto, I don't know whether people saw that, on how to mobilize support for higher education pathways linked to community sponsorship. And we will also send that to you as part of the package, because also Belgium now is implied in that program, for example. But first, sorry to be lengthy, Giovanna, the Unicora project is really something which I think is an incredible achievement in a very short period. Tell us about it, how that links to the humanitarian corridor and how you have engaged the stakeholders.
Yeah, the university corridor are a spin-off of the humanitarian corridors. I mean, when we started the activity of the humanitarian corridors in 2017, we discovered that there were several students, refugee students, that would like to go on with their studies, but they can't in the first country of asylum. So we decided to implement with the UNHCR this program in Italy, and so we have the first engagement of the University of Bologna. That was the very first university involved in this program. And we began 3 years ago with only a couple of students, just to check if the system was sustainable and if all the mechanism, even institutional mechanism, is working. Then in the second year, we have seen 20 universities involved, and now we have 56 universities involved. That university are engaging. They are available to give scholarship to the students. If they can, they give even the student house. If they can't, of course, there are Caritases or the Diaconia Valdese, so the Valdese Church, that can give house to these students. And then what the role of Caritas is to involve municipalities, to activate the multi-stakeholder approach in order to integrate students, because they are here, yes, to study, but they are here even to discover and to be integrated in the Italian culture. So it is quite challenging. It is a big effort for our Caritases, because we are asking them to get out of their comfort zone. We ask them not to deal only with parishes, but we ask them to deal with municipalities, with regions, with students associations, with sport association, or with entrepreneurs, traders association, because they have to find all the stakeholders that can be involved somehow, in some way, in the path of integration of people, of students. They have to set round tables to share ideas, ideas, to share objectives, to train the community, and to make the involvement of all these stakeholders active. I mean, because it is clear that we cannot talk about integration if community is not involved. Someone has to integrate in a community. So we have a lot of work to do in the engagement, in the real engagement of the municipalities and of the region, because they are certainly aware that the project is going on in their university, but all this process of trainings or roundtables and so on begin after this really great choice of university to deliver these scholarships. But I mean, it's not a common thinking of the civil society at this stage. I mean, so university says, okay, I'm available for this scholarship. They apply to an HCR, and so now as Caritas, we begin all this work on the territory. It would be nice, it would be fair if the choice of the university would be a shared choice with the municipality, with the region, with the citizen, with the student association. Because of course, if they are involved in this process, they can be more engaged than in the implementation of it. So it will be important to start a co-programming process, a co-designing process, and now we have also a national law that formalized the need to co-plan the intervention of the public bodies with the CSOs in Italy, and so it will be interesting to bring university corridors in a co-programming table with the municipalities and with the regions. We have released the manifesto, as Petra already said. It is, you can sign it if you want. The manifesto is to share, made with the Share Network, and it is open to subscription not only to institutions but also to individual citizens, because developing this project means promoting it at all levels and let people know about this opportunity. And I don't know if we can talk to the manifesto later, or we stop here, or I go on?
Maybe a very little, what are the basic stakeholders engaged?
Okay, so as you can see, we ask in the manifesto, we ask for the engagement of many stakeholders. But well, you can, as you can see, we ask action, we ask to commit in various activities to European Union, to governments, to higher education institution, and all the stakeholders that can be involved in the process. And so the ambition of this manifesto is to make this project normal. I mean, not an extraordinary thing, but it should be normalized. So the university pathways must be a normal activity that our university is leading, and the ambition is to moving, thanks even to this manifesto, to moving the university corridor from a single project to a process that must go on in our country. Thank you.
Yeah, Giovanna, thank you so much. And for those, it is a complementary pathway, so people come under a mainstream student visa. Then they, of course, the idea is that then they will find a job and can then have a longer-term residence under the mainstream migration system. And I'm also very happy that 56 universities already in Italy, in Belgium also Caritas International is engaged to engage universities. In Belgium, France, we have now MENS and the Association of Foreign Students that has engaged. In Germany, DAAT, which is the agency for scholarships. So this is a growing engagement, and think about that when you engage with universities that want to offer additional protection. Many now also are engaged, of course, in scholarships for Ukrainians, but we absolutely want to strengthen that. We need places for the other refugee groups, particularly from Africa, from Afghans, Syrians. So keep that on your radar and check the website. And if you have any questions, please address these to Giovanna or to the Share Network to see how you can get additional information. And Ireland also is engaged, of course. Sorry, Rory. So we had also Irish participants with already two University of Galway supporting the process. Then we are going a little bit to other initiatives. We have Zeebrugge, the network here, Alina. You are a very grassroots, citizen-led network.
Yes.
And I wanted to that you explain a little bit of the work you're doing and also the work you do on trying to have a better match between municipalities and refugees and migrants that are coming to your cities.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Good morning to the last survivors. Thank you for inviting. Okay, everyone is up now. Yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you for inviting me to the conference. As I'm coming from the civil society side of things, I'll share my experience of collaborating with local and regional governments in Germany. And Zeebrugge is a grassroots movement. At least we were initially organized as a movement of many initiatives and organizations, and we founded the movement in 2018 during the standoffs surrounding civil sea rescue organizations in the central Mediterranean. And just for you to remind you all that back in the time, the official policy of the German government with regard to what was happening in central Mediterranean was sit tight and assess. So basically do nothing and let Italy, Spain, and Greece handle it. So our goal was to mobilize support, popular support, but not for like community sponsorship per se or as such, but for the broader cause of refugee rights and safe pathways to Germany. And what we did was started a public Germany-wide campaign, and it was called Create Safe Harbors, just because there were these continuous standoffs at sea and people could not get offshore. We said, let's build bridges to German cities and let's create safe harbors ourselves on the German territory. So it was like kind of a very new political framing, new to Germany at least. And the main demand was safe passage or safe routes to Germany and other countries in the north. And the main objectives of the campaign were, first of all, to pressure the central government of Germany, and we discussed it yesterday because in many aspects, the central government is the problem, like housing and so on. But also, with this campaign, we wanted to activate the countless municipalities in Germany that do not share the official policy of the central government, are really willing to help, and we think they should be vocal actors that should have a say in migration policy and in public spheres. So I was happy to hear that the city of Ghent also sees it as a priority to engage in the public sphere of campaigning. So the core of the campaign was to try to show that, contrary to the narrative that was and still being spread by the member states of the European Union, that there is a lot of solidarity on the ground in municipalities, in cities and towns. And I say municipalities because I think that it's a more exact term, because at least in Germany, there are so many small towns and even villages that are super active in migration policies that are not big cities like Berlin and Bilbao and so. But a lot of them, at least in Germany, do pioneering work. And And what we did is we built local chapters, local groups consisting of self-organized migrants initiatives, refugee initiatives, refugee councils on the ground. And we basically asked the local authorities to issue a public statement and declare their municipality, their city or town a safe harbor for refugees. And what's important to note is that this public statement also contained a clear appeal to the central government to act and get active, not stand idly by, as people were drowning in the Mediterranean. And I think, in my opinion, this campaign was very successful because as of now we have over 200 German municipalities that are safe harbors. And if you think that, if you're asking yourself what a public statement can do, it's just a public statement. It can do a lot, actually. It can make the central government very nervous if with time you have like over 200 cities in Germany continuously speaking up on the issues. Another success, I think, is that we work closely with 3 federal states or regions in Germany to help them draft relocation programs, because in Germany, as of course in many other countries, municipalities don't have the competence to launch their own relocation or resettlement programs, but federal states or regions can do that. And we helped draft 3 of them in the federal states of Berlin, Bremen, and Thuringia. What else? And of course they were not successful because they needed to be the central government was supposed to greenlight them, but they didn't do that. But that was nonetheless a groundbreaking action on behalf of the regions in Germany, something that never happened before. And a last point on the campaign that I want to mention is that we also helped build an alliance of safe harbor cities in Germany, because we thought that it's super important to bundle forces and bring local actors, local authorities together, and also help them build relationships and help them learn how to cooperate amongst themselves. With regard to matching of refugees and future prospects, what we're trying to do now, and here I'll be speaking. Can I have the slides, please? Yeah, that looks good. Here I'll be speaking from my professional experience is working for the Humboldt-Verdrine Governance Platform, which is a small think tank working on participation approach in politics. What we're trying to do now is we're trying to build on this temporary protection directive for Ukrainian refugees, because it clearly shows that we can build pathways that are scalable and that can be implemented, and there are less restrictives. And we want to build on this safe harbor campaign that we conducted in the last 3 years to introduce alternative paths and advocate for them. The migration management in Germany is still very much top-down. So local authorities, regional authorities do not have a say on anything, and their needs and what they can offer, it is not taken into account. And the needs of refugees, of course, are not taken into account, but rather there is a top-down distribution system of refugees where people are just basically being randomly sent to municipalities. So we want to change that and develop a pilot project to match Ukrainians currently residing in Poland directly with the willing municipalities, so with safe harbor municipalities. And How do I click to the next slide? Ah! Okay, so I'm gonna skip that due to time reasons. The last one, here we go. And we are trying to set up this matching pilot project together with the Alliance of German Safe Harbor Cities, together with the civil society, of course, and with mayors that do pioneering work like Stefania, whose video message you saw yesterday, and also together with the regional asylum agency of the region Schleswig-Holstein, which is in the north of Germany, and that is also very interested in this community sponsorship aspect, specifically of the aspect of how to engage volunteers that help refugees coming in the cities to integrate better. And our goal is clearly not to kind of say, okay, the central government is not doing enough, we're gonna take over from here, but rather to showcase to the central government that alternative better paths are possible, and they should be scaled up and extended to other refugee groups, not only to Ukrainians, but yeah, basically what we talked about yesterday. And we think that matching, rather than just sending people to municipalities, matching them with the specific profiles of municipalities, with their needs and what they can offer has a lot of advantages. It is more sustainable in the end compared to the central top-down approach, and it ideally, if implemented in the right way, it would prevent secondary migration, because as I said, the needs of both sides are better matched. And I think I'll stop here, but we printed some copies of the matching concept, and we left them at the entrance, so if you're interested, grab a copy, and I'll stop here. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think thank you so much, Alina. I think that the whole matching has been started about after the Syrian refugee crisis with different pilots to look how to match the potential of a refugee better with the community that then will receive him, so that you can use your full potential instead of being in a place where you cannot have access to higher education or access to your labor market background. So I think that the multi-level governance has come up yesterday. Of course, what do we discuss the whole time? There's a lot of willingness of cities and regions to do things. Central government not always, very often does not allow to do the things that some cities and regions want to do in civil society. But there are also successes. Hannah, I think that it's a bit of a different examples we're showing. Community engagement is really vital. If you look at sponsorship, how do you engage communities? How do you campaign? How do you get these actors on board? Citizens UK, I think, is an incredible organization that has a lot of experience in that. I think also if we want to bring sponsorship to a higher level, that mobilization, that community engagement should be increased. Tell me, please, some of the lessons learned that you have from Citizens UK with some concrete examples, and also how that may be linked to cities' engagement.
Thanks. So just to explain quickly about Citizens UK, we work very differently to the Pickwell Foundation. I'm actually working in a very centralised way, and we're the only lead sponsor that works across the whole of the United Kingdom. So we have groups in Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and every part of England. By lead sponsor, it's like what Susanna does. We kind of mobilise and support community sponsorship groups to welcome refugee families. And because there's not many of lead sponsors, often people come to us almost as a last resort because we agree to take on a group from any part of the country. So often it's people coming to us, but we also are proactive. The other projects in my charity, similar to what you do, we have kind of chapters across parts of the country. So we go where we have that kind of community base, and we bring together, say, a church and a mosque and a school, bring them together to create a sponsorship group in their community, all working together. So we do mobilization in those different ways. And I guess it's very different to I was interested to hear about the Bilbao approach, where it was very intentional, choosing Bilbao as a place to do community sponsorship, because for us, we're not so intentional about where we do it. If there's somebody willing to do community sponsorship, we'll have them, and we'll support them to do it. I guess the lesson I've learned is that it's successful as long as there's people in the community who know their community. So I've supported, for example, 2 groups in Manchester. The first group was a student who had just moved to the university there, but she had no roots in that community. She was 19, she set up a group in her local town of Peckham in South London that's like one of our most successful groups at just the age of 19. So when she moved to Manchester, she tried to start a new group, but she had no roots in the community, and she was just there for 3 years, so it was a transient population. And in the end, they found it too difficult, and they gave up and just kind of supported a different group. Whereas just down the road from the university, I worked with a woman called Jamila, who was an incredible woman. She works in a local school, but she's also so embedded in her local mosque and loads of community groups. And she did one of the quickest applications because she knew, she just had WhatsApp groups of the entire community in Manchester. And within a week, she had started everything, got everything ready. So really what we try to do is find these incredible community leaders, and then they do the work. So I'm not an expert in a community. I'm not an expert necessarily in resettlement. I'm an expert in facilitating, connecting people. I'm an expert in how to do the bureaucratic Home Office thing, how to get the tick from the Home Office. I'm an expert in being kind when people are tearing their hair out. But it's the groups who are the experts in the community. And the second lesson I've learned is never patronize volunteers. They might be volunteers, but we've worked with local authorities who are there lecturing them on how to do the support for the refugee. And I'm just so embarrassed because they haven't taken the time to find out this is a retired head teacher, this is a retired social worker, this is a lawyer, this is a doctor, and they're being patronized. And actually, there's so much you can learn from each other. So that's my second lesson, is just let them have the reins, and we're just there to facilitate connections. In terms of facilitating connections, we set up, it actually started in the pandemic. Before this, nobody knew how to use Zoom. Let's be honest, most of our volunteers are retired, they're not so technically literate. The idea of a webinar, nobody was coming to my webinars before the pandemic. But now we do a monthly webinar on Zoom. Each month we choose a topic that people want to learn about, so how to do English classes, mental well-being, and we invite people who've been resettled through the scheme, people who've been part of a group to share how they approached a different thing. And then we invite people from all across the country to join them. We've had up to 80 people sharing their experience together every month. We also run networks now, because I've now got 78 groups. I can't be so hands-on with every group. So I formed networks. So in Scotland, they have a very fierce pride about being Scottish. They're we're not the same as you English, it's a different scheme. So we set up a Scottish network where all the Scottish groups get together once a month to support each other. But that didn't work in other parts of the UK, so we tried to do a West Midlands group. But they don't have that same sense that we're from the West Midlands, because you've got Birmingham, which is a really big city, and then really small, like, rural villages. They don't have much in common in terms of challenges. So actually, I found it more useful to connect the rural village in the West Midlands with Susanna to talk about these are the rural challenges that we're facing, and connect the group in Birmingham with my London group, and they connect that way. So we're creating these networks, which makes my job easier because they're the experts, they've done it, I'm just the facilitator. And I guess my final lesson was that we tried to formalize the kind of mentorship process, both us and an organization called Caris, who work in the southwest of England. We both thought, okay, this is great, everyone's mentoring each other, why don't we formalize this? Why don't we kind of set up a really clear program? It didn't work. We were matching a group with like we'd say, okay, you've welcomed someone before, you'll be a mentor for this new group. And they would maybe have one phone call and then not bother. So then we realized it's all happening organically. So now, like, for example, we've just found out a mum is pregnant in one of our families. So organically, I'm just kind of contacting another group where they've just supported a mum who's had a baby, and we're connecting them. And rather than having a really strict mentor scheme, it's just based on the challenges that they're facing. And actually, sometimes just being organic and not just letting it be messy. I think that works better. We don't have to formalize everything. We can just let these things happen more organically.
Yeah, Hannah, I think that type of work you're doing this expertise is extremely valuable, and I'm also very happy that within Share Citizens UK will be partnering to deliver some training modules on this expertise to the other QSN partners and other countries, how to do this community engagement. For the Spanish experience, of course, we have looked at how it works in the different regions, but in the end, of course, if there would be a more common approach across the Spanish regions with some capacity building and structures of how do you engage with volunteer groups, because of course there are now only, of course, the Jesuits and Caritas engaged, but to make it grow, I think it was interesting to have a more wider approach of how to facilitate groups. And I think that experience will be very valuable for everyone. So last but not least, it's a bit of a crazy mixture of things. We have discussed for the last days a bit rural communities. It comes up every time. It works very different in a rural community than in a big city. Share is very active in the area of rural integration, and sponsorship works. It's a pity we didn't have our French partner, and also I must say, of course, the humanitarian corridors in Italy also work a lot in smaller rural communities. But we have a fascinating example here with us. I will introduce Maria Alcina Caldera. She is the municipal councillor of the municipality of Fundão. It's the city of cherries in Italy. The best cherries in the world, you say, which have done a welcoming community hosting program for newcomers, migrants and refugees. And I'm very happy to hear the successes are incredible for one municipality leading that. Tell us more.
¿Puedo?
Yes.
Buenos días, gracias Petra por la oportunidad y voy a hablar en portuñol, me perdonem. Mas queria hablar-vos um pouco de um território que se chama Fundão e que tem pouco mais de 29.000 habitantes e que é um território com 700 km², muito grande, mas com poucas pessoas.
Okay, so Fundão is between Porto and Lisbon. You told me that 29,000 inhabitants, and a territory of 700 square kilometers. So quite a big territory.
Estamos ao centro del país, 2 horas Lisboa, 2 horas Porto, 1 hora e média Salamanca.
And very close to Spain, 1 hour and a half from Salamanca.
Esse território que ha cambiado em 7 anos. É por isso que quero vos contar um pouquinho da nossa história, por este propósito que o Ayuntamiento ha tenido para implementar um plano de inovação para atrair empresas e migrantes.
Yeah, so they have a program to attract newcomers, migrants, also refugees, to the municipality by a very wide innovation and labor market program.
E como disse Petra, somos a terra da cereja, porque somos um território agrícola, produzimos mais de 60% da cereja nacional.
So agricultural basis, 60% of the whole production of cherries, but also apples. You told me that you have peaches and
Yes.
más fruta.
Sí, más fruta. Mucha fruta. Entonces, como temos muitas pessoas que vêm por este trabalho agrícola, tivemos a necessidade, dizemos que nós temos a melhor cereja do mundo. E é verdade. Entonces, vêm muitas pessoas para trabalhar de Bangladesh, de Nepal, de Roménia, de Bulgária. E entonces nós não podemos dizer que temos a melhor cereja do mundo e as pessoas estarem em más condições de vida, de alojamento. E assim, em 2015, o município, o Ayuntamiento de Fundão, através da Igreja Católica, que tinha um espaço muito grande para 300 pessoas, lo alquilamos. Yeah. O município lo alquilou.
Yeah. So, just very quickly for the non-Spanish speakers, so after 2015 they have already attracted a lot of different nationalities for their labor, and they purchased from Les Comprado, no?
La alquilamos.
They rent from the parish of Fundão a big building that can host over 300 persons.
E neste momento podemos acolher 100 trabalhadores para se quedarem, mas temos mais de 600 pessoas para trabalhar todos os anos.
So they have more than 600 people now, and 100 are being hosted in that facility.
E entonces vemos também começado a entrar num radar para captar empresas. E a primeira empresa que a captamos nesse radar foi uma empresa tecnológica, uma multinacional chamada multinacional francesa chamada Altran.
Altran.
Okay.
So they also wanted to attract high technology firms. So Fundão is not only the capital of the cherries, but also the new Silicon Valley, if I understand it correctly, attracting technology firms.
E neste momento temos 1.500 engenheiros informáticos vindos de todo o mundo.
So 1,500 engineers and IT workers now are there.
17 empresas tecnológicas.
17 firms.
Então, tudo ha cambiado em Fundão e temos a necessidade de casas, mas cada migrante que vai para trabalhar ou de outro contexto, nós outros, Ayuntamiento, tratam de tudo. Há uma equipa que tratam do acolhimento de casa, de escola para os ninhos, tudo.
Yeah. So there's a whole package being offered of housing, of different services for the people that established them in Fundão.
E em 2016 havemos cambiado, também hecho outra coisa, porque António Guterres é de Fundão. O secretário-geral das Nações Unidas é de Fundão.
You understood that, no? The Secretary-General of the United Nations is from Fundão, so that gives us a little push to the whole project.
Entonces andava el barco Aquarius a navegar no Mediterrâneo e António Guterres ha solicitado a Portugal, a Espanha e França para acolher os refugiados de barco Aquarius. E entonces Fundão ha dicho sí. Los acolhemos e foram os primeiros refugiados de Eritreia, de Sudão, de Nigéria que acolhemos e que estão ainda com nós outros.
Yeah, can you follow this? So a bit similar like Zeebrugge, with the Aquarius relocation of refugees arriving. They hosted, ¿cuántos eran?
20 refugiados que habían venido del barco.
Yeah, 20 came from the Aquarius boat and established themselves in Fundão.
E nunca mais paramos. Neste momento temos mais de 300 refugiados que acolhemos desde o princípio de vários países, mais de 30 nacionalidades diferentes, de Afeganistão, de Síria, de Hiriak. Neste momento temos 150 ucranianos também.
So that they now host a very wide range of different nationalities for refugees, and also now received 150 Ukrainians in the municipality, linking them to the labor market.
E nós preparamos mesmo uma verdadeira integração, porque los acolhemos no centro, mas depois tratamos de tudo. Uma equipa, que Filipa está aqui, que é a coordenadora que trabalha diretamente com os refugiados e com todos estes migrantes e que trata de tudo. Uma equipa multidisciplinar que trata da saúde, da educação, do trabalho, porque é muito importante o trabalho para estas pessoas que se quedam até hoje com nós outros, com suas famílias completamente autonomizados. E é isso que nós necessitamos. Esse cambio para nós outros é uma oportunidade, porque nós necessitamos para o trabalho que temos em Fundão.
Yeah, no, and I think that it changes a little bit the chip of thinking that this is, of course, policymakers always talk about win-win situation, and you think, well, but this is really a win-win situation of having labor market opportunities. Together with the refugee groups that are there and other migrant groups.
E temos ainda no mesmo centro uma residência para estudantes vindos do CPLP, de países como Guiné, São Tomé e Príncipe, Cabo Verde, para estudar. Estudantes que vão fazer sua formação à escola profissional que temos em Fundão.
Yeah. So there are also opportunities for higher education in CLP.
CPLP, países de expressão de língua portuguesa,
yeah.
como Cabo Verde, São Tomé e Príncipe, Guiné e outros, Angola, Moçambique.
Okay, so for many of the Portuguese-speaking.
Por lo tanto, e para terminar, agradeço esta oportunidade de dizer que a Fundão, neste momento, a Alcaide e eu e todos que trabalhamos em ayuntamento dissemos isto todos os dias, que quem vai ao Fundão para trabalhar, viver desde o primeiro dia é um fundanense. Isto lo passamos todos os dias para a nossa comunidade, que é muito importante para serem como qualquer de nós outros. E esta mensagem dizemos todos os dias: Fundão, terra da acolhida.
So Fundão, territory of welcome. So that is what they say, and the mayor is very committed to it. And I think also it was interesting, you told me yesterday that some of the local populations had a little bit some doubts, but that has really turned around. Que la población local tiene mucho apoyo para el esfuerzo.
Isso, todos estamos envolvidos nesta integração, verdadeira integração para todos. Muitas graças.
No,
Vão conhecer Fundão.
Yes. So for the Spaniards across the border, I mean, you came by car, but these experiences exist and they're developing. And I think we also yesterday we were talking that sometimes we're a bit depressed, but there are inspiring examples. So. Voy a venir.
Sí.
A
Fundão. No todos. Gracias. Muchas gracias.
Inspiration. So for the rural thematic groups, we will have to build on this experience and your shining example. Okay, so little time left again, but okay, let's take it like it comes. We are going to break out in some groups.
No questions?
And sorry. Yeah, can we do questions?
I don't know. Maybe there are questions.
Yes, sorry. No, I'm so afraid that we don't have time still to break out. Are there some questions?
Fomos muito claros.
Todos muy claros. But I think bilaterally, it's. I don't know whether it's still a coffee break. No, eh? No. Oh, that will be done. Okay. Gabriella, we have... Oh, you are wonderful. Yeah. We will, of course, with our colleagues from Basque government, but not bother them too much, write a conference report. There has been many experiences shared, but we really would like to know from you the first. And no one can go out of this building without sharing what you have found the most relevant experience and practices. And then we break that you can discuss that in your little group, and then you can go to one of these three groups. And Anna, Gabriella, and myself will also join in one of the three groups. Can I already see who is interested in what? So who would like to go to one?
Who would like to do mobilized region and city engagement via awareness raising and mobilizing networks? May I put you as a leader because you were
Yeah.
never will help you out there.
Okay. So you will go then with
Leah.
With Leah, and I do not understand entirely where.
So two, maybe Patrick, we can do two here and one in the other room.
Into one, or otherwise we'll have another room.
But since we only have an hour, maybe it's easier. One in one corner, one in the other. Yeah.
Then.
So maybe Leah's group. So Leah, raise your hand. So if you're interested in question number one, go with Leah over here, and you'll stay on this side.
Yes.
So mobilizing, how to mobilize region and city engagement via awareness raising and mobilizing city networks.
But also try to take stock of this feedback on what people have found the most interesting practices.
So make sure you discuss what I put in red.
Yeah. Just quick.
So
yes.
number two is mobilizing engagement via capacity building, training, and peer learning. Citizens UK does a lot of training, peer learning, very informal discussion.
Who want to go there?
So you will be with Hannah, maybe on this side of the room. And then the last one, mobilizing new partnerships and new models and advocacy, and this will be led by Tiho. Tiho, put up your hand.
Yeah.
And this will go into just a small room outside.
Yeah. But also if you want to share some other thoughts, please do that in the first reflection. There are so many things we can also reflect on but we have done it like this.